Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to Horror Night Oasis, a radio show where we discuss all the latest movies and news from the world of horror. Join me, as always, is my co-host, Ian. Ian, are you there?
I am here, and it's good to talk to you. I haven't talked to you since last year.
Exactly. I know it's been so long ago we talked to each other. But yeah, we are here, and for a very special occasion, as we always do, we always like to start off the new year with something that we call a New Year's Boneyard, as relegated every other time we do it, just a Boneyard review. But we always kick it off, and we try to find something interesting or worthwhile. Last year, I think we kicked it off with Croaker, and that one just didn't really do much for us, and it was just kind of a lost cause for a film that sounded fun in concept, but just didn't deliver. And this one, there's a lot of history with this one, and I'm so happy to delve into it tonight with my co-host Ian, and because we're probably the only two people that's watched this in 14 years. And that is crazy, but that's how these boneyards work. It's just like these films just go out, just disappear, become obscure and obsolete, and then word of mouth starts going everywhere, and then nothing ever happens, and then one day you just become lucky, and that's how this one came about. But this one, we might as well get into it. It's Brutal from 2012. So as usual, I always preface these by the history and trying to get as much information and details pertaining to the film before getting into the review. So Brutal was, again, it's 2012, directed by Michael Patrick Stevens. He also wrote, produced, and he's the starring character as Brutal. So it's a lot of roles he did. So how I came to know about this film was, I want to say 2017, around 2018, somewhere in between. There was a listing. I was in a bunch of Facebook groups, a lot of VHS collector groups and stuff like that. And someone posted a link to this film on eBay, and the seller at the time had an asking price, a buy it now asking price of $1,000. And everyone in the group was just like talking like, that's crazy. What, and it stayed as that price for a couple, I want to say almost a year. And I, every now and then I'd check back in, just look at it, see if it was gone. And then eventually it was gone, and I went to sold listings, and the seller marked it down to $500, and then it sold instantly, basically. And so it was one of those. This is one where it was like, I was still kind of like, again, $1,000 is a lot, $500 is a lot. So I was like, I'm not going to spend that much money, because again, I was buying, these obscure, hard to find titles, but it's just like, come on, $500 to $1,000 is a lot for one movie. So as always, I just put it on my eBay watch list, Brutal, a Michael Baldwin DVD, whatever. And here recently, this past October, I was just browsing eBay, and I had one of those little voices in the back of my head, hey, type in this thing right now. And it's one of my usual prompts. And so I just went there and I was scrolling down, and about the 5th or 6th listing down, there it was. And it was marked at a price that was affordable. And I snagged it, and I was like freaking out. This is one of those where, like, a lot of the times I don't freak out. Like, if I get it, I get it, you know. But this one, like, holy shit, I was like shaking. I was like trying everything just like to keep my composure, because like I knew this film was like in its rarity and like how valuable it is. And just like I was so thrilled. And it's like I can't wait to get, like I was thinking of all the ideas and like, oh my God, I can't wait to do this on the show because this would have been perfect for the show. And I had all these things rushing through my head. And so I bought it. And I was so thrilled. And I still couldn't, like I messaged you as soon as I bought it, Ian, like, holy shit, Ian, you do not know what we just got. And it was like, you pretty much knew I was ecstatic about it. Because like, this is one of those that's just like, it's insane. So that's how I came about to get this into my possession. Just a random eBay prompt, and I got it from a record shop in Washington State. I believe I lost Ian, but I'm still going. But yeah, again, I haven't the eBay list. It's just been a while since I'm gone. Okay, you back, Ian?
Yeah, I think we all got lost for a second there.
Yeah, pretty sure. All right. But anyway, just to see, again, it was like so many years, and then finally it came back around and found its way to me. That's how it's been here recently with a lot of my wants on my watch list. Like, well, I missed out on it. That sucks. And then eventually it comes back around. There's one major one that's gonna land in my hands sooner or later. Like, if this one came this year or last year, I can only imagine, hopefully, some of the other ones that's on my want list will come this year. But as I said, I bought it from a record shop in Washington State. That was the seller. Again, so it's crazy. And then so we're getting into around the time this film was released in 2012. The authorization of the DVD was August 16th, 2012, when I put it in the DVD player to watch it. So that was when it was authorized and made. So we have some reviews around that same time period. There was the Kicking the Seat review in August 25th, 2012. So that was a little bit, again, I don't know if it was a DVD screener or an online screener for these. But again, it's all, I have no idea. And then there is a Twisted Central review of July 26th, 2012. So that was before the authorization of the DVD. So I'm assuming it's an online screener. And then there was also an interview with A. Michael Baldwin on the Without Your Head podcast, talking about the film. And I think they were talking about how they'd seen the film and were discussing all the all the interview details of the film. And then after that, it kind of just disappeared, and nothing came about it. And, it had some good buzz and notoriety. It had a screening. It was like a limited screening. And then it was also on the mynameisbrutal.com was the film's website, and it had a limited run DVD, which I'm assuming is this. And so it was only very limited. And if you go to like the Wayback Machine, you can see the images on the website. And also there was limited copies to certain people during the premiere of the film showing. So again, I'm not sure how many copies exist. Again, I've only seen 2. Hell, this might be the same one that I saw all those years ago. I'm not sure, but there's at least 2 that I know of notwithstanding. And here's the thing. People have been wanting to see this film. And that's what I meant over the course of like hyping this show up, is like, this is one of those where people are wanting to know about this film. They're searching for this film. There's Reddit posts dedicated, to like, hey, has anyone found this yet? They're just like searching and searching and searching, hoping to find this film. There's Facebook posts of what was that movie on Facebook on a group or something like that. And then like people if you go to the trailer of the film, people are saying, when is this gonna, years ago, like, when is this gonna get released? Like, hey, is this ever gonna come out? People are, actively searching for this film, like I was, and there still are. And to be able to find it and have the platform that we do, Ian, is just like, I'm helping as best as I can to get it out there, to let people know that the film does exist. It's insanely hard to find because, again, I've only seen 2. And plus, it's very easy to confuse the title because it's called Brutal. And there's Brutal from 2007, the film with Jeffrey Combs about the mathematical serial killer. And then there's 1,000 Times More Brutal from around the same time, 2012, but that's a crime thriller film. And so there's a lot of confusion, like, oh, it's playing on this streaming service, it's on that streaming service, when actually it's 1,000 Times More Brutal, and not Brutal with A. Michael Baldwin. So it's just one of those where it's just an amazing feat to come across it, because, again, when you see something for $1,000 marked to $500, and then you're just like, well, that's gone, and then randomly stumble across it on an eBay search, listening to the voices in your head, and just getting it for an amazing price, I will say that much, and just being able to put it out there and give people information and hope that, like, yes, there is copies available and people have seen the film. I mean, and not way back in the day either, not like 2012, 2014 circa, early reviews, screening reviews. But yeah, I don't really have much else information on the film. I did as much research as I possibly could, given what is available. I do know that if you go to the trailer, there is a guy. He left a comment. This was 12 years ago, Mick Garrison, and he said that it was supposed to be remade in 2014. And again, everyone's saying, when is this one going to get released first? Why remake something if this original one's not released? So again, I don't know if that was just hearsay or not, but that is, like, again, the last thing to really note on, that it was apparently supposed to be remade 2 years after it was made. And honestly, after watching it, I don't really think it needed to be remade. But we'll get into that a little bit into our review. But Ian, before we get into the review, what's your opinion and thoughts on the whole backstory of this one?
It's honestly kind of crazy how these movies like this, like, there's such a cult following, yet like no talks about it. You don't really find anybody like who actually has their hands on a copy. I think it's very special that when we
Ian, you're cutting out. Yeah, now you're good.
all right. Have this like sixth sense when it comes to movies.
No, but you're saying how it's special. that we have
Yeah.
this platform.
Yeah, it's like, you know, with a movie like this, and like, I mean, it going for $1,000, I would have just said, and I would have also said no. I was like, no, I don't even if I had like multi-million dollars, I probably would have been like, I don't know. But it's it's really neat that there's been so many people who wanted this film, but yet like so few have actually been able to get their hands on it. And it's kind of sad to see that kind of stuff. But now, with like Tubi and all of this, where you can like kind of push your own film onto that, I'm glad we're able to, like, we live in a digital age where movies like this can kind of exist in a certain, in like a, on streaming. So like in the future, like, this isn't going to be an issue, but like these hidden gems of films are just, it's just so crazy how this all comes to be about. And just how like how there, you have to like go to an online forum and just happenstance to just be there at the right time, right place, right time kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm glad, I'm glad that you got this on there, and I'm glad we got a chance to review it. And hopefully, like, I always hope when we review these kind of films that that they kind of try to put it back out on the market, somewhere.
Yeah, it just sucks that, like, again, like One Last Stop in a Violent Town, like they just disappear, like the director doesn't come out, doesn't do anything, and then like I've dealt with other directors too, trying to reach out and get their films, and they're just silent. And I had to go through other means like producer and actors to obtain a copy. And like this one, like there's been like zero, like silence from Michael, and also co-director Darla Ray. And it's just like you're just met back with silence, and you kind of hate that. Again, I don't know if they're alive or dead. I mean, I have no idea. Could be the case. It's happened. Again, there's a film called Bear Creek. It's a gay themed slasher film. And I had to reach out because the director passed away, and I had to reach out and get in contact with his sister, and she managed to send me a copy of the movie. So it's like, again, I went, you go out of your way to try to obtain some of these films just to preserve them in some way. And this is one of those, it's like, it needs to be preserved. It needs to have as much information out there as possible. Again, we're looking at like nothing for 14 years and just silence. It's just silence. And to be able to finally have this in my grasp, and again, have this radio show to present it and talk about it, and just finally get a chance to watch it as well after all these years of just like, I wonder what that film was like. I wonder what that was all about, and just like, and plus like from where we've been doing these boneyards and just learning more about like these under the radar stuff, like this one, like it's sort of, as you said, it's sort of a cult film. It's garnering, and then like no one can see it. And like with other ones, it's like neither here nor there. Like some of them's like, this one's not really worth, finding. This one, it's decent, not that good. This one, I think the people who would, who've been after it and wanting to watch it, they wouldn't be, there's some other films which I'll get into a little bit later on in the review that it's very similar. I mean, it's been done, but it's still not a bad watch. But yeah, really, I guess I'm just going around in circles now, trying to get as much as I can out of the news portion and all my research. But yeah, it exists, and I'll go over the DVD. We'll go over the DVD. So as shown on screen is the front, where we have, and then we have the insert here, which I will read the insert. This feature film was produced to help raise money and awareness for Portland family members who have had to face living with the brutal murder of a child. In 2012, Pastor John Taft and local artist Michael Patrick Stevens established a nonprofit charity for those in need. Through their organization, victims' families will be provided with the personal, spiritual, and emotional resources they so desperately need. We are asking that you donate a minimum of $5, whether you watch the film or not. Then please pass Brutal on to someone else, helping the cause raise more awareness as well as more funds. 100% of all the proceeds will go directly to the Portland-based nonprofit charity for those in need. And then the PayPal is for thoseinneed.com, and then the address underneath that. So it's a good cause, but now that I'm on this, I think the awareness is more spread, and I'm going to be able to keep the film because I'm selfish in that way. But yeah, that's the insert and the disc, which is the wheel of the film, the game, and then of course the back end, if you want to show the back.
All right. Are you going to change? There it goes.
And then of course the you win, you live, you lose, you die, which is the game that is being played in the film. So yeah, and then go back to the front. So that is everything given to Brutal. Now it is time to go into detail about Brutal 2012. And again, towards the later end of the review, we might go into spoilers. There's like a minor twist towards the end that really, I guess, I don't really want to spoil, even though it is kind of obvious. But we'll get into it. So Brutal, again, as I mentioned earlier, is directed, written, produced, and stars Michael Patrick Stevens as the titular character of Brutal. And so we are also introduced to A. Michael Baldwin's character. His name is Carl Gibson, and he is a family man. He has a wife. He has a young daughter and a son. I believe they're 6 and 8. And he's just an everyday working, workaholic family guy. And at the beginning of the film, we're watching these recordings of him and his everyday routine and life. A lot of the times, some of those, especially a couple, when you get into it, because you understand a little bit later where he's being videotaped. Like, how is he videotaping him across from the kitchen, from the table in the living room? And it's just like, you have to be right there. How you not know you're being recorded? But it's a minor complaint. It's nothing really big. It's just, it's filmmaking. I've seen worse. So Carl is eventually taken hostage by Brutal. And Brutal is this big, imposing figure, hulky, just a big dude. And he has Carl tied to this wooden chair in his basement. And he has all these implements set out on the wooden table, workbench, and Carl is pleading for his life, saying, "Let me go. You don't need to do this. I won't tell anyone." All the normal proceedings when you're being held hostage, like, listen, I won't tell anyone. Let me go. Do you want money? Please, like, I have a family. I have a child. I have a daughter. I have a son. He's just pleading for his, begging for mercy. And Brutal, he pretty much takes no punches, and he takes no for an answer. And he just proceeds for the first half of the film to torture and just have his way, dismantling Carl. He's handcuffed to the chair. He's chained to the chair by his legs. He takes pliers. He removes fingernails. There's a sand grinder or a belt grinder, and he uses that to grind along Carl's face, his forehead, his knees, and his legs, and then eventually we're introduced to the wheel, where it again, it's the you win, you lose, you lose, you win, you live, you lose, you die. And on the wheel is all these implements of torture. We have the potato peeler, a knife, gasoline, blowtorch, nail gun, clippers, a baseball bat, staple gun, and all these. And there's this one space that's entitled free. So if you land on that, you get free. So basically, the rest of it is just where they're he's spinning the wheel, and it's always landing on something that involves getting tortured. It starts out easy with rock paper scissors, where if Carl wins 2 out of 3, he gets loose and goes free, and of course, if he doesn't, Brutal proceeds to go on with his game, and that's what happens to sets everything up into events. And Carl is just set there and beaten and tortured for a good while of the film. Of course, we're not privy to any information yet. There's something there for the reason for everything happening, which does get revealed as the film. There's a low moment in the film where you get a little backstory of Brutal and the reason. Don't want to get too much into it, even though it's, again, I have to kind of mention that with the note that came inside the DVD. So it just goes along, and it just, again, it's sort of the torture horror that was kind of coming around that 2010s era. I was thinking La Petite Mort and Do You Like My Basement? Hostel 3, I think, came out around that time. So this is one of those that's just underground, some notoriety to it, but still in the same vein of those other films. More sort of heartfelt in its, because there's definitely a deeper meaning to everything. So there's a lot of dedication and heart went into the film to make it the way it eventually came out to be. Halfway through the film, Brutal's mother gets involved, and then there's a turn of events there, and then it just proceeds to go on from there for a little bit longer, where we get more of the backstory and the eventual conclusion of the film. As I said, there's not really much story-wise, as it is mainly just A. Michael Baldwin as Carl just getting tortured by various ways. There's again, he gets the sand belt on his knees, and then Brutal comes along and he sprays pesticides all over his body and open wounds. He's getting parts of his skin cut off. He gets his hands nailed down into the chair with the nail gun. So there's a lot of there's the potato peeler scene where he's peeling off skin, and they don't really shy away from it. And then there's, again, other parts, it's a lot of torture. I'll just say that. And overall, again, I thought this was solid. And it was surprisingly solid. Not something, again, I've seen it done before. There's been other films very similar to this. They came out around the same time. Big Bad Wolves was very similar to that. Sheepskin. A few years later, there's one called Nailed Down, where it's a person getting revenge on somebody, that what was the other one? Tortured, with Bill Moseley, where the family, the mother and husband, are trying to take out their frustrations out on who they thought did something. So it's very, Sheepskin. All these are coming to mind. But this is one of those sort of earlier ones. And I thought, again, if those came out, and again, maybe that's the reason he didn't want to, again, re-release it or something. Maybe because so many other films kind of did the same thing. Like, well, there's no reason for my film to do it. I mean, who knows? I don't know the reasoning behind why this wasn't put back out or released at all. But it is just, again, very straightforward, and like it goes as soon as it starts. You have your little opening with Carl and being a family man, and then once he's kidnapped and held in the chair, it's pretty nonstop, violence for a good portion of the film. At least, like, I want to say like 40 minutes. Don't you think, Ian? It was like 40 minutes straight of just torture.
Yeah.
And then finally it kind of, again, you get that history of Brutal and what led him to where he eventually became, because he's kind of this like no remorse type character. He has like no feelings anymore. He lost everything. He has no hope. He's hopeless. And he's just taking out his frustrations on Carl. And again, it's revealed through the backstory and the reason why. And it's just like, again, it's a pretty solid little story. It's very contained and concise, and it keeps you, like, again, it's like you're involved as the story progresses. It's not the most, say, violent or gory, say like a La Petite Mort, where it's just like super violence, or grotesque, where the killer is just like having the couple out on the autopsy tables, and he's just like cutting their nipples off and all that stuff. It's not like gory. It's contained, it's well done, and it's central and crucial to the plot, because of the eventual reveal of why. And I thought, again, for what it was, I enjoyed it. It is a shame that it is relegated to being forgotten. I liked the story, even though it's not been, it's not the most original. But I dug it. I was enthralled. I liked the character arcs. A. Michael Baldwin did a fantastic job as Carl, and this was his first acting gig in 12 years. He came back after, he was, didn't do anything for a long time, and then this role called him back, and it was he really gave it his all, and it's kind of terrible to see his performance just be forgotten, because it's a very strong performance, and like a lot of dedication went into it, and a lot of struggle went into it as well. Since you're having to thrive and yell out in pain for a good majority of the film. And then the Brutal, played by the director, I thought he gave a good job as well. It was very imposing, and just the story was just, again, it was a decent story for what was being told. It is sort of, again, pulls on, I wouldn't say pulls on the heartstrings, but it's very, just downer in a sense. It's just like, oh, okay, that's what happened. It's very loss and grief heavy. But yeah, it's a solid little watch in the end. I think I was entertained by it for a good portion of the film. I didn't really find any faults with it, honestly. But Ian, I'll let you give your thoughts, and we'll go back and forth.
Okie dokie, hokey pokey. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm just making sure. I don't know what's going on with my computer today. No, yeah, I completely agree. It was a pretty solid film. For, a low budget indie horror. I wasn't expecting the cinematography to be as decent as it was, especially for an older film. The colors were, was spot on. Like, I thought it looked really good. Like, and just, it was a really well made movie. And usually when you're like, hey, I bought this movie off eBay, I'm like, oh God, what you got me into? But no, it was like torture for 40 minutes. But that 40 minutes passed before I even, like noticed. Because it was always like, even though it was like, you know, not much was going on, it was enough to like draw you in.
Mm-hmm.
Like right when it was starting to uh get monotonous on a scene, it would automatically like switch to him spinning the wheel or something. And then when you're like, okay, this is getting, repetitive, they switched the scene. And I felt like I was like, okay. So like it it didn't feel like it was overstaying its welcome, like scene to scene. Like it was like they almost timed it perfectly for me to like just keep me enthralled, because like when I realized we were like almost at the end of the movie, I was like, oh shit, over an hour has passed. And I thought this was like a really quick film, but
Yeah,
it
I'm right
kept
there
me
with you because,
guessing.
like, again, like when he's getting tortured and like I wonder how many more. It's starting to get, you said, a little monotonous, and then like they introduce his mother, and then like the mother starts, and she starts one way where she's like, "Oh, brutal." Of course she's calling him by his real name, but I'm still gonna call him Brutal. Like, "Oh, Brutal, are you in the bathroom?" And she's going through the house trying to find him, and then she finds the blood on the door to the basement, and she goes down there, and then she like, "Oh, he doesn't know what he's doing. I'm sorry. Let me help you." And she tries to help Carl out, and then there's a little bit more that goes on from there once the sack comes
Yeah.
off the head. Um, and then just like, oh, things have turned
Yeah,
again.
and it happened so quick, and it's just like, and it felt genuine.
Yeah,
Like that was the thing. Like I mean, yeah, it happened kind of fast, and I was like, I kind of wanted more, but like you kind of, and it does explain itself, and I was worried it was going to be one of those films that doesn't, and it did it so well. Like it really did. Like it was just like, you know, you're sitting there like, okay, like when the flip happened, you're like, what? Wait, what? What's going on? Like, what is this? Is this guy just a deranged killer, or is there more to the story? And it's like, it gives you more questions, and it draws. And when you get the more questions you have, the more it draws you in, and the more it draws you in, the more you're just like, it just goes by so fast because you're just so in like zeroed in on like what is happening. And it's been a while since like I've watched a movie, especially one of these like rare, these older films where I'm just like, this is actually a quality piece of, cinema, that it is a major shame that it fell into obscurity.
yeah, and I don't think I mentioned this yet, but this was his first feature as well. This is like his first film, and just like how he like even as the first film, it seems like it's just like already there's like too much, a lot of growth just in that film as the film progressed. It's like you can see it going from it's just like a lot of again, like I said, a lot of dedication and heart to make this film stand out. And again, to see it,
Yeah.
as we said, relegated just to be forgotten, it's a shame because they're, like I said, people are looking for this film, and I think people would be happy to check this out and like, yeah, that was solid, like for us. Again, we don't go into these until the day we review it, and so I was like, oh, please don't suck, please don't suck, please don't be just one of those where it's just like have something good. And then like I came out of this like, yeah, that was solid. That was way better than I anticipated, and it was definitely a deeper film than just some torture, helpless torture porn type of film. I mean, it's there. but it's not full on in your face, there's a grief and loss to it, and the character arcs, pretty much for everyone involved, because they all start one way and they all eventually conclude a different way, where their true intentions finally show. And I thought that was good too, where you have Brutal as this imposing force, this Hulk of a man, and like he's imposing and just lumbering, and he's doing all this damage, and then you have Carl, who's this sort of sympathetic father character, and then it just like sort of turns the other way towards the last act, and it's just like it's cool to see how that that change as the film progressed, and his like mannerisms and his demeanor when he's in the chair, and like how he's all like helpless, and then he starts sort of reeling it in a little bit, and then of course Brutal and his character arc. So I thought, like, again, and then as you said, the cinematography was solid, and how it's like they're following the mother through the house, above the shoulder, above the head, panning over the house, and all the games and the spinning of the wheel, and like the close-ups of the parts that he was getting chopped off, or baseball bat, or the pesticides, or whatever form of torture he was getting dealt with. It all looked good, and just like, holy crap, this is way better than than it has any right to be. And like, again, it's a very solid watch. It's over, you watch it and it's already over, so it's one of those quick ones too, and you can't really go wrong with it. Like I said, I wish there was more information. I wish the director wasn't silent, or those involved weren't silent. I don't even think A. Michael Baldwin's came out since then. If he's at a convention, and another one like at Scarefest in the next few years again, I'm gonna ask him. I'd be wary to bring it. I'll take a picture. I have a picture. I'm like, hey, what happened to the director? And just like ask him questions, just to get a little bit more information, just to see what happened, because this is just one of those where it's just so under the radar. Well, it's not really under the radar, but it's just so obscure and just impossible to find, that it's just like, I hate to see it, because like with Hell's Tomb, when we reviewed that a few months last year for one of our marathons, and how that was like only released in Canada on DVD, and then overseas on DVD, and then all of a sudden it came out on Tubi, and just like, I like to kind of see that happen, where it manages to find somewhere to stream, like a Tubi or something like that, or the director puts it up on his YouTube page, because it just, to see something with the heart and dedication and passion, just to be, it's like the One Last Stop in a Violent Town, like so much ambition into that film just to be gone to the wind, and like this one is like, it's a very solid watch for what it is. You there, Ian?
Yeah, sorry. Had a my wife asked me if I knew where a pacifier was. Had to find one. My son woke up. But yeah, no. I honestly really like this movie a lot more than I had anticipated, because it was just like, I was like, it's like, oh man, is this just going to be like a torture fest the entire time? But I love the tone shift that it does. I really enjoyed that, because it was like, in the beginning, you feel bad for
Carl.
Yeah, like I was trying to remember his name. But yeah, you feel bad for him, and then it's like, oh, you don't. And here's why.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it gives like a real, like, it's just like the character development that happens between everyone.
And the reasoning for the game as well
Yeah,
is touched upon further.
exactly. And it's just like, and that's what I liked about it was like there was, not that many characters, but it gave each one more depth of the few characters that they had. Like they actually like took the time to like, hey, we're not just making a mindless like torture film like Hostel, or because you brought that up. This actually like served a purpose. It didn't just like, it wasn't there to just cause shock and awe, which is one of the reasons I never liked the Hostel movies, was they were just like, mean spirited Saw.
Mm-hmm.
But
And honestly, it's like the shock factor in this one's like it's there. I mean, for all the torture and stuff, but it's not like in your face. It's just like
yeah,
it's a means to get to the ultimate reveal of everything. It's like you're eating the cake before dinner, basically, where you're having all this
yeah,
gory, bloody violence, and then you have the main course, which is like this tasteful meal, and like well done steak or something, or a rare steak, and just like, but you just want to have like your fun first with the dessert, and then you have that lavish dinner, and then it gets savory as it goes down.
exactly. I mean, this movie was so straightforward in its themes and execution, but yet at the same time had such a more like complex plot. And it's just it was such a well done movie. And I'm just like, you know, my expectations were low going into this film. And when the opening happened and I saw him like, peeling the guy's flesh off and everything for a while, I was kind of just like, man, is this all this is going to be, just like this torture fest? And I was so glad that it wasn't. But I also wasn't expecting to like feel like emotions, like I was kind of getting like, I was like, man, I'm getting a little bummed out now. I was like, with the reveal of why everything was going down the way it was, bummed me out. And I was like, that's such a good just such good storytelling when you can go from torture to feeling feelings. And I thought it was really well executed, and nothing felt forced. It didn't feel disingenuous to what it was.
Mm-mm.
So
Yeah, and like I said, man, it's a shame that it's just disappeared from the ether, basically, and been gone for, again, 14 years, um, since 2012. And again, all these people out there searching and trying to track it down. Like, there's like posts like, I don't even think this cop, doesn't even exist. There's like people like doubting it even exists. Well, now the record is straight. It exists, and we've watched it, and we've went over everything that I think we possibly could without getting into spoilers. And we could get into spoilers because who knows? But it's honestly, it's one of those where I don't really want to get into it. It includes a certain family member close to brutal. I'll just say that, and
yeah,
just like I don't want to get too much into it, because if this does come out ever after our review. You never know. We put these out there, and then years later something might happen. But
Hey, it's happened before.
Yeah, it has happened before. And we just don't want to. Again, we want people to enjoy the film for what it was, but we wanted to get some. There's not like much details out there. And like I said, there's some of the reviews, as I mentioned earlier, on the websites, and like of course they're talking about it as well. But again, that's back in 2012. Like there's nothing new, and we wanted to put a new take, a new spin on it, and like let people know, like, hey, this exists. Like you never know; those reviews could have been shills. I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying that could have been word of mouth type of ordeal back in the day. But the film exists, and it is made, and there is a copy available, and I own it. But I'm glad to share it. Like I said, I'm glad to share it with you, Ian, watching it together. Because again, like I said, first people to watch it in 14 years. It's crazy. A lot of people, you watch something over and over, but when something's lost to time, and just to be the first two people to watch it in that amount of time is crazy. And to share that with you is it's always great with these Boneyards. We're not patting ourselves on the back. I mean, it is, when you find something and uncover something, you take pride in it. And it's like archaeologists, but we're finding these lost horror films. When you find something amazing or not so great, you still want to share it. Like, hey, this is our findings. This is our notes, and this is everything that we took from it. And this is our research that we went into to make this possible. And just to, again, I just want to share, it's just like these films, I have so many more besides Brutal and all the other films that we have on the Boneyard where they're just like forgotten. And it's just like, I want more people, again, you either like indie horror or you like low budget stuff, because most of them are just like regional films from all over the country. But you just like, as a purveyor of low budget horror and just someone that appreciates the genre, you don't want to see, as I said with Happy Halloween, you don't want to see them just disappear and become nothing. Like there's a lot of stuff that's going on with Happy Halloween behind the scenes that I haven't even got into yet, and it's crazy. Just some random review of a film that I found, and we reviewed it, and like everyone's coming out of the woodworks after that review. I haven't really got too much information detailing all this stuff, but like there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes after that review came out, and it's crazy. So that's the same thing with this one. Like we're putting it out there and seeing what comes of it. We created this little baby and we put it out there for the world, and whatever hook it latches onto, hopefully we'll see who pulls, gets reeled in. But yeah, I'm happy to share this with those that have been wanting to find it or know of its existence for all these years. Hopefully this puts obviously it's not going to put a bow on anything because it is still unavailable and hard to find. And, but it gives you some sense of relief, hopefully. Again, I'm just putting it out there. Again, I just wanted people to know that it exists. It's available. Not anymore, but copies exist, basically. And we did our best to give you as much information that is out there that we could find. I did a lot of research and much as I could on this one. And it is what it is, Ian. And I guess we're just going to have to put the bow on it. Any final thoughts on the film, on the legacy of the film, or what's to come of the film? Whatever you want to say, floor is yours.
Right. Well, I don't want to, there's nothing really left to discuss about the film, but the legacy of this film, I think this is one of those movies that I wish was more wildly available, because I think this is one of those films that could inspire future film directors into, you know, like what is possible, you know, that you can do shock horror without having no substance behind it. And I do hope, you know, for the future of this film, I do hope that, you know, they decide to put it on a streaming service or something, because I feel like this movie would spread around pretty fast in you know, the indie horror scene, if it's available to watch somewhere.
Yeah, it has that built-in audience already, just hungry to
Yeah.
find it.
Yeah. You know, tap into what you have. And I just, you know, it's just such a shame that it took a miracle for us to even be able to watch this. And I hope one day that other people can get a chance to see this without having to be at the right place at the right time to even hear about it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, this
But
was
what a
always
way
on
to
my
ring
watch list.
in the new year.
Exactly, man. Like I was saying,
All
this was one
downhill
that was
from now.
always on my. It was just on my watch list, and just that voice in your head. Always listen to it.
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah.
every now and then, it gives you some good advice, and it gave me some amazing advice that day. But yeah,
It's all Louisa films from now on.
definitely one to bring in the new year with, and I wouldn't have had it any other way. There was, again, I had other choices, but this one, as soon as this one showed, like, no, this is it. This is what we bring in 20. You know, this is 2026. This is our first show back. This is the first show of the new year, and like I said earlier, if you like films such as The Tortured with Bill Moseley or Big Bad Wolves from 2013, you would definitely enjoy this one because it's an exact same sort of feel. So it gives you some inkling of what the film is as well if you've seen those films. But Ian, I guess that's going to do it for our New Year's Boneyard and our review of Brutal from 2012. It was a fun show. I'm glad to finally discuss this. I'm glad to finally have watched this and to discern it out to the general public, and hopefully get some people, you know, get some more eyes, get some more ears, get some more sleuthing to help get this out there, because it needs to be seen, and it has the fan base that's thriving to see it and wanting it. Again, I could do something with it, but I wouldn't know if I would be like problem with a copyright or not, because again, I don't know. So I just kind of just leave that as it is until like something happens. But if later down the line there's still nothing, I might try to do something with it. But currently, I'm not gonna do anything with it except this review. I think that's the best thing I can do at the time. But Ian, as always, it's great talking with you. Happy New Year, my friend. I'm looking forward to what the year brings
Happy
us.
New Year to you. Same.
And with that being said, I appreciate everyone for listening and allowing us into your homes for another year, hopefully. We hope you enjoyed our review of Brutal, the first review of the film in 14 years. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and we will see you next time here on Horror Night Oasis.
Good night.